Am I able to share this on my Facebook too? Or just
No, we're good. And we are live. What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Shantanique Langston. Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations. I am your relationship coach and the creator of the Relationship Conference, where we promote wholeness in the areas of singleness, marriage, and family dynamics. And tonight, I have a special guest. Uh, we have Andre Charlie on. He is a mental health counselor. And listen, we're talking about overcoming trauma in relationships. This is a cringing, topic, but it needs to be had. Okay?
yep.
So I'm going to tell you right now that all the information you're going to hear tonight, myself and Andre, we are not exempt from the experiences that we've had ourselves. Okay, so tonight we're being vulnerable, sharing a little bit to help you all. I believe that when you are on a healing journey, that your healing will be a testimony to somebody else. So, without further ado, go ahead, Andre, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Andre Charlie, Affecting Change Charlie. I'm a mental
Yes.
health therapist, private practice where I provide supportive services, counseling services, therapy services for those in behavioral health needs. I am a person that is a child of God who continues to strive and help others and continue to build them up in the areas that I can, support and build them up in, particularly the mind, body, spirit, helping them to recognize who they are and helping them to go through their life's journey through healing, setting some goals in place, and supporting them all the way.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. So, I have to ask this question with everybody. We got it, all the credentials, what you do. Now we want to know, why did you go into this work? What is your backstory? That's what people want to know. They want to know the man behind the title.
Right, right. That was really interesting because my journey into social work was I knew I wanted to help others. I knew I felt like I can help others through music because my music teacher helped me, and I figured I'll be a band director and help others the same way. When I actually started the music education program, I figured that it was something missing. So I talked to criminal justice. I was going to be a juvenile probation officer maybe, and my professor said, "Hey, you actually want to do a lot of preventative work. Maybe you should think about having a conversation with social work." I did. I didn't know what social work was. I took the intro course, and in that course, I was actually offered a job jokingly because somebody else didn't want to go apply for this job. And my classmate looked at me jokingly, like, "You want a job?" I was 19. And I said, "Sure, tell me about it." And she said, "Oh, for real?" It was working with adjudicated youth, like in a group home setting. And that's where I actually found out that I actually could help others have a purpose. Those young boys were broken and had been removed from home. And that's where I actually realized that I had passion for that area and continued to go from there.
Wow, that's amazing. You was in a whole nother arena. You were in music
Music is.
and and got out of that to go into psychology.
So I did social work.
So
Yep.
short, excuse me. So
Yep.
that's amazing. That's a different, that's a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that music is also therapy.
It definitely is. It really
Yes.
is. The
Yes. Oh my
therapy,
God.
the thing about the music, it helped, and this is all I knew. I didn't know anything else. But through music, it helped me to kind of release some of my pain and to release the traumas and things that I went through. And through playing even classical music was amazing because I had never known about that until I was about 15 or 16. I heard it. I was like, no, I'm not listening to that. And so my music teacher at the time was like, "Hey, you can either listen to this music or we're gonna have a conversation. We could talk." So I'm like, "All right, we listen to the music because I'm not talking to you." And so
I,
he was trying to introduce me to the dynamics of classical music.
yeah. And I get it. The whole all right, I don't want to talk piece, especially being a guy. So we're
And
going
a
to dive into
teenager.
that. Yeah, we're going to dive into that in a second. But I want to ask this as a sidebar. What did you play in school?
Trumpet. Yep, I played trumpet and I sang in the gospel choir.
Okay, and you sang. I did not know
Just
that.
in the background though, just like not for real.
Oh, in the back.
Yeah,
Okay, the background. All
I can
right, all
hold a
right.
note.
But the background matters, okay?
Hmm.
People
Hmm.
don't know that. The background vocals be hidden, okay? So okay, I didn't know
Not
that.
lead skills though. Not no. Mm-mm.
You said what now?
Not the lead skills though.
Oh,
Okay.
not the lead skills. All right, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. As long as you know you stand in your lane.
Right.
So I want to talk about the problem that men do have, because I tell my students, those who don't know, I am a teacher by day,
Yes.
and I've taught kindergarten, garden all the way to third grade. I'm back in first, and I tell my boys it's okay to cry. I
Yeah.
let them have a fit because
Right.
I'm not gonna change my mind. It is, my rules are the rules. They
Right.
love me anyway, because those feelings are gonna go away. But you
Right.
do have to channel those feelings. So I always tell my student, my boys, and I would tell their parents to let them have their moment.
Right.
It's okay. When we were younger, we couldn't have no moment.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I want to talk about that. I want you to go ahead and give
Yeah.
us a little bit about that.
Because first of all, guys, boys don't have problems. So, I just want to clear that up, But we don't talk.
We going there right now. We
I
gotta set
mean,
the
you said
topic.
the problem, the problem boys have. So I figured I'd just go ahead and, reshape that.
Okay, go ahead. Go
But
ahead.
we are taught boys don't cry. We fight. We handle it with our hands. Nobody is a little punk around here. So when we get older, those same messages kind of replay. We are more aggressive. We play tough in sports. All of that, softer, sentimental, regulating our emotions and all that is on the football field, baseball field, football, basketball court. You know, all of those things, and that's how we do. And when it comes down to actually identifying what we're feeling, we don't even know how we're feeling because we've never been taught to tap into that or recognize that. So it just comes off cold a lot of times when we become adults who've never been trained or taught that it's okay. And if we're vulnerable and somebody makes fun of that or capitalizes on our moment, you'll never get us to open up again.
That is so good. So that goes back to why you said it's not a problem. It's something that has not been taught. Therefore, it's not really an issue. Or, well, it is an issue, but it's not a problem because no one's ever taught
Yep.
men or boys to open up. And this is why the conference is so important. And so I always try to advocate for men to attend because we want to hear your voice. And when I was at a church and they sponsored one of our events back in 2018, and the men that attended said, we did not know that anyone cared about us. I'm like, yes, we do. We want to know. We're not psychics. We can't not read your mind. You have to open up your mouth and speak and communicate better. And so we know that the enemy, he wants to muffle men. He wants to muffle, especially our powerful men who
Right.
have something to say, to give, to
Right.
nurture. So he tries his best to keep you, stuck to the past and just be reminded of those past traumas so that you're not embracing something that's new. And I see
Mm-hmm.
that a lot with millennials, like men, they don't know how to embrace a woman who is nurturing,
Yeah.
who
No.
is an empath, who's there to be present with them because of what has not been taught. And that's why the conference is here, and we're having our summit in October. It's come up in a few weeks, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's about to be here soon. So we still have room for you to come through if you're here in Detroit. You guys can go to my website at www.neekspeaks.com. And of course, look at all the information there. And to register, we still have a few early bird seats available if you would like. And you can use the promo code SAVE20 at checkout. And we look forward to seeing you there. We're going to be at the Southfield Marriott on October 7th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And of course, we have our special guest, uh, Andre Charlie, affecting change, Charlie, who's going to be in the building, sharing some amazing gems and giving mental health advice. If you cannot afford mental health counseling, you want to come to this. Okay,
Mhm.
because there are going to be a lot of people here helping you navigate through your relationship with yourself. And a lot of people, they don't like themselves.
Very true.
They don't.
And they
They're
don't
so,
realize they don't like themselves.
you said what?
And they don't realize they don't like themselves.
Yeah.
Behavior speaks.
Oh, it does. It really does. And that's why y'all need to come to the event because it's really going to help you see yourself. I would say for myself, being on my healing journey and going through trauma release, I've seen a lot of ugly things concerning myself. And I think it takes a mature person to recognize and to become fully aware of self and giving yourself that grace to do it. Like knowing that it is a process and it is okay. And that when you are healing, you're not going to be around a lot of people.
Right.
You're not. You're not. You're going to be really everything. How can I say this? The easiest way I can say about healing, like everything that was you were sensitive to, is like magnified times 100. So therefore, you're now protecting your peace at a all time high and being mindful of who you're surrounded by when you're on the journey, because you don't want any triggers, anything to trigger you. Um, they will come here and there, but you have to know what type of exercises to do. And so I know you're going to be sharing a few things with the women. So he's going to be with the women, helping us get us together. Because we could be going through the most. So I want look at your face. But you already know what we're going there today. We're going there tonight, because there are so many things that women go through, and they point the finger and blame. Not just saying just women, men do it too, but women we do it the most. Like we blame everybody, the cat, dog, the daddy, everything when it comes to trauma. And so I know that what you're going to share with us is going to be amazing. Do you want to give a little bit what you're going to be doing?
Right, yes, absolutely. So, then you're right on, man. When you're talking about, when you're going through something and you're going through your healing journey, a lot of that is when you are going through healing, you will notice a difference. You're going to remove yourself from people, but you won't have to really work very hard because people will also remove themselves from you. And do not think that it is strange when the people that you thought was in your corner starts to maneuver and get out your way, because they weren't really the ones that need to be in the next part of your life, because you're going to a healed place. And some people don't like healing. When there's peace and people haven't healed and they're used to chaos, they will create it. Their body, their mind, they will automatically start to create chaos because they're not used to peace or healing or feeling whole. And if you're in a relationship and you have a whole person and a person that is not whole or healed, you will have dissonance, you will have chaos. And if you are not healed and whole and you're with a person that's not healed or whole, so you have pretty much, if you think of it as two halves coming together and you think it's a whole, no, you got two halves making a half, and that creates disaster. So you will not be able to maneuver. You will not be able to have a reasonable conversation that will sustain over to a healthy relationship. You'll have ups and downs. You'll have more downs than ups because you are not healed or whole. So the traumas that we experience is something that we have to recognize, because if you're not whole, sometimes it's because you haven't been taught. Other times it's because of our experiences. And most times we've gone through something that was traumatic that we actually didn't work through. We didn't know we needed to work through it. It was normalized to us. If you take an average household and they didn't deal with some of the things that we dealt with, and compare it to a household that was healed, it would look a little different. I asked one of my clients one time, well, you said that there was no issues in your family growing up, and you've listed out a couple of things of deaths, and your mom was in the hospital, and she was in the room crying often, and you didn't disturb her. You had nobody to talk to as a child. When your uncle passed, you felt isolated and alone. And he felt like those are just normal things that happen. And so, therefore, now that he's in his marriage, he doesn't talk. He doesn't even know how to communicate. And his wife is a communicator, well communicated, well educated, and she figured she'd be able to maneuver with it. But now, 7 years in, it's hitting the fan because one person is healed and whole and one person isn't. So I want to enable him. I want to help him with not. She didn't know she was enabling him. She wanted to help him, and it ended up becoming an enabling type of relationship. And then you get frustrated after you pour out so much, and you attack him when you knew who he was to begin with. This is where he was, where he landed, but you didn't give him that opportunity to get whole or healed. You wanted to be the savior, and that is a problem in a lot of relationships. The women want to save the guys partially because of their own trauma. Another end is because they know what he's been through or see where they can help make it better, but then they avoid their own stuff. So now you're taking care of him, and then your stuff rub up against his stuff, and you have a problem. Especially when you add in other dynamics like financial stressors, kids, changes in the family, because in the relationship, if one person doesn't grow and one person is growing, you feel like you grew apart when you're supposed to actually have your individual growth and you have to have a plan to grow together. So you don't actually separate, you come together and each other understands one another. So that all comes up, and we'll talk about a lot more of that in the conference. But the trauma is one area that can speak for us before we even speak. We don't even know, was that response me or was that my trauma? You have to be in tune. You have to take some time and figure it out. What's going on with me? Did I actually respond that way? Wow, I shocked myself. Your trauma was there that's unhealed, and that came out. So therefore, you have to be attuned and understand your trauma and your healing is something that is important, because whatever you don't deal with is going to deal with you, and it's going to deal with everybody around you. So those are some of the things that will, kind of touch base on the toxicity versus normalcy, and peace versus chaos, and all of the good stuff.
Oh, we listen. Now I don't know how I'm going to leave, come in that room, and then go to the men's room and try to take. Listen, I'm going to stay glued to my seat to hear this, because all of this, what you're saying, is nothing but pure confirmation for my life, and it just is. And I just thank God for growth, especially from my past relationships I was in. And the one example you just gave me with that your client, I was her like years ago in my early 20s. I'm now looking back in my 30s, like, what was I doing? That was dumb.
But you grew.
But I had to learn. What are you about to say?
I said, but you grew.
Yes, yes. So I had to grow. And today, like I said to Leon on the last episode, I'm at a stage in my life. Yes, I'm an empath, but I know better. Like, I have my boundaries. I don't have walls. I have boundaries for me, not for the other person, for myself. And that's the key. Again, being self-aware is so important, and also being discerning. I'm not sure why we kind of come away from using our intuition when we're talking to a man, talking to a woman, why we're not listening to that at the first sign, the first two conversations, why we gotta try it out, or this business potential, why we gotta do all that when a person is showing you who they are in the beginning, if you are healed.
If you're healed, you're going to see it, believe it, step back.
Yeah, you are.
You're going to see
Yeah.
it. You're going to know it. Everything in you is going to say red light, red light. But are you going to run it? If you run it, you're going to get sanctions, tickets, all those things. Don't be surprised, because you saw the red light. If it's caution, all right, let's take a look and see what's going on. It may be something that if they're in the process of healing, they may have been in this area and there's growth here, and you can see in the conversation because nobody's 100%. But if you see
Absolutely.
growth and they're dialoguing with you, even if we have issues, then we can work with that. But caution is very different than red lights. And you run through a red light, you're going to get in an accident. It will be a collision. And then this problem, you're going to be on the collision course. So I want to also talk about the trauma and learning and healing. When you mention boundaries, we have to have limits. We have to set limits, understanding that's when we know we love and respect ourselves. When we don't have limits and we allow other people to push our limits and we allow our limits to be set aside to meet somebody else's need, that is something going on within you, not them. So we got to address that. And when you actually stand up for yourself and set limits, it doesn't look good to other people. It feels like they are being mistreated when you're like, nope, I'm just setting my boundaries. These are my limits. I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do that either. And you're like, well, dang, what's up with you? I mean, those are just areas I'm not willing to cross. I'm not willing to do that. And that's for me. And so when you set those things out there, guys don't like to be told no. So we're going to trip. I'm telling you now. We're going off. When you don't tell what's up. So it's stuff
Yeah.
we got to work on too.
I'm the one to always break up with the guy. So yeah, they don't like that. Oh yeah, they don't. You guys don't. No. I have to admit that. But you're absolutely right. Spot on because um I just lost my train of thought. Oh Jesus, what was it? I was gonna say, darn it, because I went right into the whole spiel about confessing about being the first to let a guy go. But when I do see a red flag, the first time I do give grace. I do. Just the first time. And then if I see it again, I am going to fall back because I know what I want and I know my worth and I know I don't want my time wasted. So I was just looking at, thank you, Holy Ghost, for bringing it back. Going back to the point about seeing someone and when they show you who they are the first time, or what Lewis said was, when someone shows you who they are not, believe them.
Go ahead, Luke. All right.
I know, right? Love him. And so I'm like, that is so true. Because if they're not showing up in your life, I'm not saying that they got to be just like you, but think about the capacity in which you walk in. Do they walk in that same capacity? Are they able to, feed into your life and pour into your life the same way that you pour into others? If they can't, they shouldn't be a part of your inner circle.
Right.
That's a whole other conversation. But that's something to think about. And as we talk about trauma, there's trauma in friendships, trauma in your in family. And I don't want to go. That's a whole. We're gonna do a whole our conference next year. We're gonna be talking about family versus relatives. We're gonna be talking about that. All right.
Whoa,
We're
good,
going
good,
in. We
good.
about to really go in. We gotta be delivered from ourselves. It's time. It's
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But one thing I wanted to say was on Instagram, I did a poll. I asked the question, um, would you date someone who is not healed? And everybody said no. So the same people that said no, my question to you is, are you healed?
Very good question.
Are you healed? Because you need to be exactly what you want. So you want someone who has X, Y, and Z. Do you have X, Y, and Z together? Because, like you said earlier about someone who's actually operating and processing their healing, that's someone who's working on themselves. You want to date somebody who's at least working towards it, working in purpose. I know in my life, like now, I'm in a position where I'm willing to date someone who's actually working on himself. He's showing the receipts. Like I gotta see the receipts, and that he has a community like I do, like someone's gonna hold him accountable. Because ain't nothing worse or not unattractive than a man who is indecisive.
Hmm.
A man who's indecisive, he's not healing. He doesn't know what he wants. And he's not a bad person. He's just lost and needs some direction, but he has to want that for himself. And if you are in a relationship, and what you mentioned, what Andre mentioned earlier, and you might be the one who's stronger in the relationship, maybe you should fall back and ask God, God, show me how to show up for my spouse,
Right.
for my partner, for my boyfriend. Show me how to do that.
Right.
That's important. Start praying about, if you're in a relationship, start praying about how you should show up for the other person. I'm so
Absolutely.
tired of hearing people just talking about stuff on social media. We're not talking about consulting the Holy Spirit about our relationships.
No.
Go ahead.
We're moving self all the time. It's all about us. And half of the people that said they would not date someone that is whole, that's not whole and healed, and you ask the question, are they healed? And I would bet at least half to 70% are not healed, but we don't do self examination. We show up and can point everything out on everybody else, but we cannot take that mirror when it's on us. And the first person that needs to know what we're dealing with is us. And it shows up in relationships. Your partner is your mirror. So if you're always going off on them, and they're trying to convince you that there's something going on with you, take a step back and see, is it true? Instead of fighting them and listen to what all you don't like about them. Let's deal with what they said or saying. And what they said, your mama said, your cousin said, your godmama poo poo said the same thing, and everybody else wrong.
Yeah.
You don't you don't want to fix it because you just you. I'm who I am. I'm real. I'm what it is. Take me or leave me. Ain't nobody gonna change me. What's really? Where you
Ooh
going with
wee.
that kind of attitude for real?
Ooh wee. You always should be. I know for myself, I am a forever student. Being in the classroom with my students, I'm learning something every day about myself. I learn from them, and I just appreciate again going through my healing journey. I'm learning so much. Like I'm unlearning,
Right,
relearning,
right,
you know, and so about me. And so I'm grateful for it. And I'm not as super serious anymore. I want to be with a man who's goofy because I'm already serious enough,
right.
on the business side of things and also dealing with my mother. So a lot of people don't know my mother is mentally ill. So dealing with that and making sure that I show up as her
Good,
daughter,
good.
and a caregiver, that's hard. And so a lot of people
Hmm.
don't understand that type of dynamic.
Right.
And so I just, again, God giving me grace in certain areas, but I think it's important, again, being mature about, okay, I'm aware of so many hats. I'm not sure who this is for, but if you're somebody who wears multiple hats, you got to make sure that you are okay
Hmm.
because you're going to reach your limit. You are.
Right.
You're going to be tapping out. Your body's going to be saying, hey, slow down.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you have someone to talk to, like you said, like Andre said earlier. So a person who's a strong person who's always a people pleaser, you need to step back. Step back. I don't know
All
why.
the way. Take two seats.
Right, several, because you matter. Your sanity matters. Um, and I think it was, or several pastors have said this, but I think Bishop Jake said it recently that your enemy is your enemy. Like you are your worst critic. You have to, work on yourself. Nothing is wrong with working on yourself. Now, there's a time to be selfish and selfless,
Yeah.
but during your selfish season, it shouldn't be to the point where you're all about self, glorifying self in your ideologies. That's a whole nother conversation I don't want to go into because we'll be on here for 30 minutes. But we do have, I want to say that we live in a very selfish generation. We do. We live in a very selfish generation. And we can't say, it's weird now because if we say anything out the way, somebody's going to be offended and take our words and twist it in the comments. I've been seeing that. And I'm like, what kind of demonic force is this? It's just some crazy stuff, but I can't feed into that. I know who I am and whose I am, so I
Right.
don't have to comment.
Yep.
But to see this spirit that's on people, not just in Detroit, just everywhere. The
Hmm.
pandemic has really shown the true colors of people.
Hmm. Yes. I mean, there's so many people with opinions and want to discount what you're saying, minimize what you're saying, want you to consider other people so much that they forget that you do have opinions and you do have a say and you can have your own principles. And that's not taken away from you and yours. Do what you do. But this is how I feel on the subject or the matter based on my experience, my education, my knowledge, my wisdom. This is where I am, my principles, my Holy Ghost, all of that. But guess what? Everybody is offended. But do what you do. That's not how you feel. It's okay, and we cannot agree and still be in the same area. But what to not disrespect me because I don't agree with you? Then we got a problem. And then I have one more thing about the whole self care thing.
Go
And
ahead. Go ahead.
selfless is something you have to balance with being selfish. But there's some people that go, and I've seen this a lot: self caring and self caring and self caring. You self caring again. You just self care 4 times this week. What have you done for anybody? What have you done besides feed your own glutton spirit? So I just want to put that out there that it's sometimes where you got to steal away, but then there's other times you got to do some work and you got to help other people as well. But I'm just saying that it triggered me.
See, you cutting the people tonight, okay? They're gonna watch the replay. It's again, this is a touchy subject, and some people do not like it because it's too deep. But that's because you're not ready and you're still immature about your own growth. That's all that is. You either want to grow or not. You can still fantasize over the dream house, the dream partner, and all that all you want to, but it's not going to get you nowhere until you actually work on yourself, because when you start working on yourself, that's when you're going to start appreciating the man or woman of God that God has for you. So you have to really do that work and be okay with the process. It's going to be slow because
Oh,
God wants to take his time. Again, when he carved us out uniquely in a certain way, in a form that is to his liking. And so there are some things he wants to carve and mold and shape us into. But the pain that we've all gone through was necessary. It is necessary for us to grow and to appreciate the life that he's given us. And some people out here are just existing and they're not living.
right. And if
Did
you're
you want to? So, did you have any other words? So you said a lot tonight. Any words of wisdom for anyone who keeps replaying traumatic events?
yeah, just understand a couple of things that the trauma happened is real. You hear it, it replays in your mind, it's stuck there for some people. That doesn't mean that the messages you're hearing is accurate. Now, your feelings are valid because that's where you are in the moment, but let's try to work through that. The whys. Why do you feel this way? Why do you respond this way? Is it you responding, as I said earlier? Is it your trauma speaking? And is it speaking louder than you? And we have to deal with some of those things to get to the calmness. The coping strategies, if you have not developed any, try to find some that work for you. And then don't be ashamed to apologize or provide insight to someone who you may have attacked based on your response, your trigger, that you responded in such a way because it's something that was within you that made you uncomfortable, and self protection hit. And in order to get to self preservation, you had to tag somebody, and it may not have come out the best way. But we're going to be here to kind of dig into some of that, give you some tips and strategies to move to wholeness, to move to healing, to be able to work with other people. If you need assistance or resources, that's going to also be available for you. We don't want to be stuck in the same place as we are in now after the conference. So we're going to be here to lend you a hand, a shovel, a spoon, a fork, a knife, whatever you need, because some stuff we got to cut out. Some stuff
Yeah.
got to be definite. We got to cut it out, and we got to cut it out. So
Ooh. Oh
we'll
my
dig it.
gosh, that was so good. I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm so glad I have a seat. Okay, at the table. Okay, I'm so excited about this. You guys definitely want to come out. If you're in Detroit, Michigan, you want to tap in with us on Saturday, October 7th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Southfield Marriott. We're having our men's and women's summit, and our theme is reversing generational cycles. This is why we're doing this, guys. A lot of us have gone through so much, and we're actually repeating certain things from our family because we're not taking the time out to see did it start, where's the root, and how can I dissect the root. So this is why we're here. Again, I am excited. Thank you so much, Andre, for coming on. It was an honor to have you on finally, officially, to
Thank
drop some,
you.
yes, dropping that major gems. I mean, y'all can't miss this. I mean, if shame on you. If that means you want to stay stuck, go ahead. But this is for people who are ready for change and want to see themselves better in 2024. So you guys stay tuned. We won't be on next week. We're taking a break, a little short break for Labor Day, but we'll be back on September 8th. We're still going to keep rolling with our preview of our summit. We'll have Lauren Bryant. He's going to be on. He is the owner of Date Night app. You guys can download the app. Again, it's called Date Night app. It's for anyone if you want to take your family out on a date or your boo, whoever, and you want to just hang out. He has amazing restaurant recommendations on the app, so make sure you guys download that. But again, we'll chat it up. We'll chat it up with him on the 8th. We're talking about intentional dating, and is it important to vet in the very beginning of the dating phase? So you don't want to miss that. So make sure y'all tap in with us then. Until next time, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to y'all in my next video.
Peace.